Good morning, good evening, or good afternoon, and welcome to an extra special edition of Across the Pitch. My name is Phil Kennedy, and we're here with another one of our extra special Legends interviews. We have a man with us who started his career with Liverpool, played over 100 games for Accrington Stanley between 2007 and 2010, also spent time with Stoke City, Crewe, Macclesfield, Fleetwood, and others. I'm going to turn the mic over to our historians, Darren Woodhead and Tony Robinson, and welcome to the show, John Miles. Thanks for joining us today, John.
Thanks, no problem. Nice to join you.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, John. Good to chat some old times about Accrington, etc. We've been trying to get you on for a couple of weeks. We've had a few of your ex-colleagues on, and they've been feeding me with some inside information this week, so I'll be able to ask some fun questions along the way. Yeah. No, but thanks for joining us.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, John. I'm always interested in a person's travels and their career and where they are to this point. But I think we just got to jump in right at the beginning and get this out of the way. I mean, you're from Walton, I believe, in Liverpool. Growing up, which team did you support and why?
Well, I've been happy through my life watching football, so I'll probably gives it away, doesn't it? So I'm obviously a big Red. So I've my family are all big Red. So I was brought up into that, and I've been watching Liverpool since I was 4. My first game when I was 4. So I've had a nice time, especially over the last couple of years. It's been really enjoyable. And maybe not the last 6 months, but before that, it's been enjoyable.
Well, and where Walton is, and I don't think people in North America might realize, is that how close Goodison Park and Anfield is in relation to each other. Can you just sort of give an idea how close they really are?
Well, probably. I think it's about probably a quarter to half a mile away. I think it's just Stanley Park separates the two grounds. I actually lived about 500 yards from Goodison from Everton's ground up until I was 7. So yeah, I live literally around the corner. We used to go and play knockouts with my friends on against the wall at Goodison. But yeah, Anfield's only another half a mile away from Goodison. So it is really close, and the streets are full of both team supporters, and people often talk about how unique the city is, in that families are divided by red and blue, whereas I think there's not many other places that could say that you're either one or the other. I mean, you have people living with each other. One's a big red, one's a big blue, so it can be fun at times.
And it's interesting when you mentioned they're separated by a Stanley Park, which obviously is the name of our team, Accrington Stanley. So there seems to be a connection there. But going back to when you joined Liverpool, obviously you played with your youth career and come up through them. And you in your age group, you had, some legend names: Steven Gerrard, Michael Owen. I was just going to say, what was it like playing and growing, coming through the system with guys like that?
Well, yeah. So they're both a couple of years older than me. Stephen and Michael are a couple of years older, but from the age of 17, so the two sites so the first team were on one site, and the new academy at the time was separate from the first team. They're actually recently, in the past few months, gone to the same place in Kirkby. But I moved up from the academy to Melwood pretty early, so I'd only been 5 months. I think I was full time, like a YTS, and I got moved to go and train with the first team, which is amazing. As you say, there was Michael Owen, there was Steven Gerrard, there was Jamie Carragher, Robbie Fowler. So I was 17 and training with these, like, my idols, my heroes, every day for 2.5, 3 years. I played a couple of testimonials when I was 17, where you probably think I'm a close to, I played in front of 40,000 on field in Ronnie Moran's testimonial against Celtic I come on for the last 15 minutes, so that's something that I'll never forget. But yeah, it was a dream, but unfortunately, I couldn't make that final breakthrough into becoming a first team player there. But I certainly had a good grounding over me 6 or 7 years that I was there.
Was it tough to leave Liverpool?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was really tough. So, as I say, I've been going the match and going the game since I was 4 years old. I used to, even when I was training, I was watching Liverpool all around the country. So I'd be training on a Friday, and then I'd go and watch them in London, for example, on a Sunday, and then I'd come back into training on a Monday morning, and I'd been celebrating goals that they'd scored on a Saturday. So sort of my affinity to the clubs has never gone, and it's only got probably stronger since I've left. So yeah, it was really tough, but I had an idea over the last probably 18 months of my contract. I sort of knew that things weren't going to work out the way I'd hoped for. So, and that's really difficult for when you're 18, 19, and sort of all your dreams seem broke at the time, and then it is difficult to then go out into the big wide world of professional football, if you like, because at my first trial that I went to, I just left Liverpool, where obviously everything's done for you and you get treated like $1 million, if you like. And then I went to Port Vale on trial, and we played a reserve game, and I think it was against Preston. And I got there, and the kit was too small, and I had holes in my socks, and it was just it was really difficult to make that adjustment, if you like, to what I've been used to. But obviously, you have to do that if you want to make a career in the game. And I'd say that one of the things that is difficult for youngsters of today is that adjustment, because they probably get even more than probably I did 22 years ago, in terms of money, in terms of sort of sponsorship deals that they get given out. The world of agents at the moment are getting 14 and 15-year-old boys, and so that adjustment from leaving a big club to having to earn a living in the game is probably harder even now, I'd say, than it was 20 years ago.
Yeah, so we'll come on to your coaching career a little bit later, John. But your next club was Stoke City, then, wasn't it? After Liverpool. So how did that come about?
So basically, my contract was due up with Liverpool in the summer, and I knew I had an agent at the time, and he was just sort of telling me about a certain club. So they asked me to come in for a trial. So I left Liverpool and I went in for a week to train, and then they offered me, it was like a short-term contract until the end of the season. So I done that. I signed. So we ended up getting to Cardiff when Wembley was getting refurbished, and we played a game against Brentford and got promoted to the Championship. And I was in the match day 20. I wasn't in the actual 16. I didn't get a kit. But so I went away in the summer thinking that I was signing for Stoke. Stoke had sort of put a contract in front of me, and I thought I was signing. And then the manager, Gudjon Torderson, the club was run by Icelanders, and Gudjon was manager at the time. And so I was on holiday and basically got a phone call that Gudjon had left, and Steve Cottrell was coming in. So basically my contract was pulled away from me as when I wasn't there. So that was a difficult time, obviously what Stoke went on to do, obviously getting promoted to the Premier League and stuff. So it was a good time to be at the club, but unfortunately it didn't work out as I'd hoped for when I'm planning to go on holiday.
Yeah, I mean, by then, football, you must have started feeling a little bit differently about it from growing up in the academy, and then you start seeing how cruel football can be, don't you? We all know we've had plenty of guests on with same kind of stories, and it's just a quick, it's the luck of changing manager or something really small that can take a massive effect on your career, can't it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you look at young boys who get the chance in the Premier League now, and you look back and you think if that manager was in charge now, then maybe he'd have looked at me differently. But yeah, it is difficult, and I think that even the people who get to the top, they all talk about getting that little bit of luck. One of the first teamers were injured, and they get in, they play a game, and then it can change their whole career on the back of that. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So you had a brief spell at Crewe, and then you where you really settled down was at Macclesfield, wasn't it? Playing under
it was,
Paul Ince. Yeah. So Paul Ince will have been at Liverpool, won't he, at some point through that?
Yeah. So it was funny when he come in to take the job at Macclesfield. I actually played my first reserve game, and Paul Ince was playing. He was coming back from injury, and I'll never forget it. He passed me the ball and it bounced back off me, and the way he spoke to me and it sort of opened my eyes to sort of the standards of what top players must do, and the standards they demand off each other. And when he come in and took the job, that was one of the first things I said. I remember how you spoke to me when I lost the ball, and he was laughing about it. But
took no prisoners.
No, he didn't. No, he certainly didn't on and off the pitch.
Yeah, I remember it. Well, we'll come on to you joining Stanley in a minute, but for the first time I actually remember you was playing for Macclesfield against Accrington. A couple of matches. The first one, Paul Ince was something went on where he tried to trip Andy Mangan up, I think, on the touchline down at Macclesfield. Yeah, I remember that one. While he was managing the game, and then the return game. And that was a massive game for Accrington. We had to win to stay up, and you had a blinder that day. You played really well, didn't you?
Yeah, we showed us. We had to win to stay. I scored 2 in the game. We lost 3. Accrington won 3-2. Yeah. And we both could have went down. So Accrington won that day, and then we're safe. We actually, because we lost, we actually went to the last day against Notts County. So it was a massive game on both sides. And obviously I was close with Cav. Obviously Cav spent a lot of time with Peter Kavanagh at Liverpool when we were younger. So yeah, that was interesting when I actually got to play against Cav's my best friend in football. So that was an interesting day. But yeah, I did have a good game that day, but unfortunately,
how did you actually come to? Yeah. So how did you actually come to join Stanley then? That summer, how did it come about?
Well, it was on the back. It was on, obviously. I spoke to Cav quite regularly, and it was on the back of that really. And what had happened with Paul Ince? Paul Ince then got the MK Dons job in the summer, so he offered me a contract at Macclesfield, but he wasn't. There was rumours of him moving away, and so I didn't sign it at the time. And then I spoke to John Coleman, went up and had a chat with him, and it came about like that really. Obviously, all Scousers know each other in football. That's how it works. So I went and sat down with John and signed the contract.
Yeah, I mean that first season is a bit strange when looking back, and I do remember it. You joining MK Dons on loan that first season, didn't you? And it looks a strange move looking back now. So just talk us through how that came about, because it's joining Paul Ince again, who'd moved on, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. So I started the season at Accrington, and to be fair, I wasn't doing well. I think I was in the team. We won the first game away at Wickham. I think Muller scored a header the first day. We won, and then we lost the next 3 or 4 league games on the bounce, if I can remember. And then I was out the team, and then we played Macclesfield at home on a Friday night, and I remember I got put back in the team, and I done well that day. But then again, my form wasn't great, and so I was out the team. And Paul Ince had gone to MK Dons in the same division, and basically around Christmas time, just phoned me up and said, "Look, would you like to come on loan?" So I said, he said, "Well," I said, obviously I'll speak to John and Jimmy and see what their thoughts. And I think we all thought it was a good idea. Maybe I'd go out and play some football. And it was funny because I couldn't get a game for Accrington, who were down the bottom of the league at the time, and then I ended up playing 12 or 13 games for MK Dons, and I ended up getting a League 2 winners medal in the same season. That I couldn't break. Yeah, and I actually played against Accrington, but as I was on loan, and normally what happens is when you go on loan, you don't play against your parent club, if you like. But I ended up playing. I think MK Dons won the game 1-0. I wasn't great that day, to be fair. But yeah, and then I came back. I think Paul Ince then got the Blackburn Rovers job in the Premier League on the back of getting MK Dons promoted. And then I come back to Accrington in that summer,
Yeah. You've just jogged my memory there about that Macclesfield game, that Friday night game. Is that the one where Ross scored with a header on the line and he put it on the... Yeah, I remember it, yeah.
We won, I think we won 3-2. Yeah, we won 3-2 that night.
Yeah, there were some good games on Friday nights.
It was, yeah. I remember the time I think we beat Crewe at the time where we were going through a little bit of trouble in terms of financially. And I think we beat Crewe 4 on the Friday night. But yeah, it always seemed to add something playing on them Friday nights.
Yeah, no, definitely. So you settled down for the next 2 years. You played 40 odd games, 08, 09. I think that's probably your best season, maybe.
Yeah, I'll tell you.
Again on 09 or 10, you were at the club during the time where, we were mid-table for a lot of it, but there were some big cup games around that time, wasn't there?
Yeah, there was. Yeah, I think you're right, and definitely that the season I came back and I had the first full season, that was probably my best season performance-wise. And then we did. We had obviously we played Fulham. We played Fulham in the FA Cup, where I remember it always sticks out. Fulham didn't get changed. They got changed in the hotel. Roy Hodgson was manager at the time. They got changed in the hotel and they turned up. And I think we actually equalised in the game, didn't we? I think that Michael Simon scored. Made it 1-1. And then we ended up losing 3-1. Sorry. But yeah, it wasn't a nice place for people to come and play, and we made it difficult for teams. And I think the season after that was when we got close to the playoffs, wasn't it? We went on a run where it looked like we were going to.
I think that was the season where you mentioned the Crewe game. I think
it was
against a lot of teams, and some good games.
Just to throw in, that Fulham match was on live television here in Canada, so I remember watching that. And then they said the players got changed at the Duncan House, didn't they?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. We were well in the game. I think it sending off. I think it was Darren Kempson, wasn't it? He got sent off, and it just seemed to change everything then, as happens. So I mean, just going over your Stanley career in general, John, who would you say were the best players you played with in the time you were at the club?
I've got to say Cav, haven't I? Because Cav's my mate. So I'll have to thought, obviously, and the you
might change your mind in a minute because I've got a question.
Yeah, listen, don't worry. I know. I've known him long enough to know that he's sort of. No,
he's a good player.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, and obviously Sean McConville at the time. I was probably keeping Sean out of the team at the time, and then he broke in towards. He put me out the team. Is probably the reason. Then I ended up leaving further on down the line. But Sean's obviously done really well, and he stayed all the way. He left, didn't he, to go to Stockport, and then he come back. So Sean's for longevity, if you like, for the career he has, I think he's done great. And obviously playing with Mullers, Paul Mullen had been at the club for a long time before I got there, and I probably caught it as near the end of the career. But he was massive in terms of how we played. So yeah, I'd probably say them three really.
Yeah, no, good shout. So when it came to leaving Stanley, I know you obviously moved on to Fleetwood. I remember you giving an interview saying you regretted the way you left at the time, and it didn't end really well, which happens a lot in football, doesn't it? So how did that come about?
So again, like what you said, me last season at the club, I was probably in and out of the team. My form was up and down, and John had offered me a new contract, but again, as it is, he offered me less money, probably a fair deal, if you like. He offered me less money than what I was getting, and it's just had a little boy at home, and you're thinking Fleetwood had offered me a contract, and I'm like, do I really want to go out the league? And I probably, but yeah, I did make a mistake, and I probably should have stayed and fought my way. It was more performance based, if you like, and so that's what happens. And the club made the right decision and offered me that contract because I didn't have a great year the year before, but just looking for security for your family, you think, should I take the other deal at Fleetwood, which I did. And again, my career finished earlier than it should have because without the league. And I remember speaking to people at the time, and I've given advice to people further on, say, look, don't go out the league, because once you do go out the league, it's really difficult to get back to be in the Football League, if you like. And I know Fleetwood were full time in the conference, but yeah, that's it. Therefore, and and I have spoke to John since, and and I didn't leave on the best of terms just because of that. Because I think I'd sort of told John that I was going to sign, and then in the end, I didn't. And as I say, I didn't do that bit. I didn't do that bit right. But John knows that. I have told him.
Yeah. Yeah, you live and learn as you go along. And I know money was tight at the time, wasn't it, at Accrington? And the contracts being handed out weren't great at times, and weren't getting paid and things like that. And it's you've got to put it into context of the time it was as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, but as I say, I wish I would have stayed. And I think they got into the playoffs the year after this. I think they did, didn't they? I think. Yeah. So again, something that I would have liked to play 15, 20 games. It would have been nice to have me experience around the younger lads who were coming through at the time. But as you say, you live and learn.
Yeah.
Okay, can I jump in, Darren, with the?
Well, let me. I'd like to intro this because it needs a proper introduction.
No, it doesn't, Phil. No, it doesn't.
At the beginning of the show, we had mentioned to you that we have some fun questions that we ask. And this is become the most popular segment on our show. The invention of Tony Robinson. And, I'm just going to turn the mic over to him for the now world famous rapid fire.
Okay.
World famous. That's a bit of a laugh. Anyway, we just have some fun questions that we kind of like to throw out at you, John. So a couple of silly ones to start with. Do you prefer mushy or garden peas?
Mushy.
On your bacon sandwich, red or brown sauce?
None. I don't like either.
All right. With your full English, black pudding, yes or no?
No, I like black pudding, but no, I don't. No, I wouldn't have it. No, pretty fussy. To be fair.
What's your? Can you tell us your favorite band or musician?
I'm not a massive music fan. I'll probably say around the time Oasis is probably the band I've listened to more than anything. But now with their allegiance to Man City and the fact that we've got a rivalry with Liverpool, I've probably turned them off. Probably turned them off a little bit now. He says too many things on Twitter I don't like.
Okay. Is there a stadium that you didn't get a chance to play in that you would have liked to have played in, like one of the stadiums sort of you'd like to say I checked off my list that I played in that you didn't?
Yeah, so I'd say Wembley, because the year that I went on loan to the MK Dons, I played the 5 previous league games for MK Dons, and then we got to the Johnson's Paint final, and I was cup tied because of a game that I played for Accrington against Oldham in the Johnson's Paint early on in my Accrington career. I think we were winning 2-0 and lost 3-2. So it was a bad night for that, and then obviously it was a bad night because I couldn't play at Wembley for MK Dons. So yeah, I'd probably say Wembley.
Yeah. Outside of football, do you have a hobby that you'd like to share with us?
I play a little bit of golf, but I wouldn't say I'm the best. Obviously, the summer's coming back in, so I have a little bit of game of golf, like most footballers do, but I wouldn't say I'm really strong there.
What's your favorite takeaway?
Chinese.
And have you watched Till Sunderland Till I Die or The Last Dance?
I've watched The Last Dance. I haven't watched the Sunderland one.
Did you like The Last Dance?
Yeah, I thought it was brilliant. Yeah, it's an insight to. I love all top sportsmen, and so obviously Michael Jordan. I love Tiger Woods. I love people who are elite at their sport. It intrigues me to see what they're made of, if you like.
Yeah, that's good. And finally, for me, if this could be from people that are living or dead, could you name 2 people that you would like to sit down and have dinner with?
Jürgen Klopp, definitely. I'll leave it at him because I just when he talks, I listen, and he's just everything he says, like the thing what he's done for Liverpool, and how he's got the fans in the club singing off the same hymn sheet, if you like. Just he'd definitely be the one who would want to have a pint and a meal with.
That'd be quite a meal. That would.
Yeah, it would. Yeah.
Top guy. I've just got a couple of questions, Tony, just to throw in.
Yep.
So, obviously, as we do, we've had a few ex-guests on here who've just sent me a few messages. So, one that came through, John, was what do you remember about a corner flag at Bournemouth? I'm not going to tell you who sent it, but the surnames, one's called Bell and one's called Proctor.
Okay, right. So, you know what? It's funny because the kids that I coach have been coaching at Everton. So, whenever I've had a few of them who've come in with that screenshot of me giving the corner flag that day. So, yeah, I remember it a lot. I remember actually the linesman and the ref giving me the corner back, which it never should have been. It was a foul. So I've kicked the corner flag and I've kicked the ball, and I've just picked the ball back up as though it was like a joke. And the referee let me take it again. Now, so Jimmy on the bench, Jimmy didn't see it. So Jimmy's saying he's just kicked the corner flag. He couldn't believe what has actually done. I think there was other language used around the corner flag.
I can imagine.
But I do remember that. It still makes me laugh. Yeah.
And another guy was asking me about you having a fondness for gold jewellery at some point in your early life.
Yeah, so again, when was
Peter
Cavanagh, was it? Yeah. Okay. So when I signed my contract when I was with Liverpool when I was younger, I probably thought it was a little bit of a flash Harry at the time. I was 17, thought I had a few quid, and I had a tendency to wear the odd gold bangle or bracelet at the time. Yeah, I'll hold my hand up. But,
any photographs, John, we can put on?
Unfortunately, no. Fortunately, no, I haven't. Sorry, no.
You didn't have the leopard skin suit.
No leopard skin. No, it's just a gold bangle.
Good stuff. So just going back to football, I know you did mention that you regretted leaving Stanley because it's dropping out of Football League, and so what happened at Fleetwood then, John? Because I mean there were a massive turnover of players, weren't there, every season because they were moving through the divisions.
Yeah. So basically they had a Premier League squad, if you like. It was like a squad of 22 players, which obviously Anthony Barry. So I'm being close with Anthony for years, and Anthony was there at the time, and Anthony was saying about, I don't actually think Mickey Mellon has ever seen me play. So I think they got promoted the year before to the conference, and basically I only realised after I'd been there that sort of Mickey hadn't seen me play. So I went in there, and the squad was massive, so it was really difficult to get a game. So I probably had the first 6 weeks where he stuck with the lads who got them up. Then he put me in the team, so I was in the team probably for 6 or 7 games. I had a good little run, and then I think we lost. I remember we lost up at Blythe. I played up at Blythe, and I think it was in the trophy, and we lost. And then the weather was bad, and we had like 3 weeks without a game, I think. And then over that time, Mickey brought in about 4 or 5 more players. So I'd gone from being in the team and doing quite well to that one game, then having the break with the frost and the snow, and then basically I was out the team then, and then that was it. My time was up. Even though I still had like 3 or 4 months left. I can't even. I think I went for that. Might have went. I don't know. I went on loan somewhere. Can't remember at the time. So again, it was a club going places. You could see that, but they had a lot of money in comparison to a lot of clubs in the conference. So as I say, they threw a lot of money at it, but they had a squad that was too big for that level, if you like. I think the difference at Accrington, which I always look back, the team spirit. I'm sure everyone mentions it. The way John and Jimmy have it, that a close knit group. And obviously times have moved on, and the squad's bigger now. But I think that's been the key to the success is how they create that team spirit. And obviously with a group of 22, 23 at Fleetwood, it was difficult because there was 11 unhappy people on a Saturday because they weren't playing. So
I mean,
mistake, but
Well, yeah. So one thing I'm interested in, because I look at your teams who you played for after, and I don't mean to be disrespectful to them, because at some point they've been bigger than Accrington and Stockport and Altrincham, etc. So is it just difficult to motivate yourself though once you've dropped out of the Football League to play for these teams, John?
So I'd say that was my biggest thing, was my mind, if you like, because like I mentioned earlier about, I've been brought up, I had my time at Liverpool, which obviously, the way they do things, and then even when Paul Ince come in for the last 6 months at Macclesfield, that was probably my best spell of actually the football. 6 months in terms of performance wise, just because the way is standard, and it's probably what I've been used to all the way through as a youngster at Liverpool, where the standards that were expected of us from Steve Highway and Dave Shannon, Hughie Macaulay, and you'll hear all the people who've made it big for Liverpool mention them. And so I think once you do drop down, then I found it really difficult to motivate myself. And even though it's a game that I love and still do, and I always have, it just felt it stops becoming, it becomes more of a job and a chore, and that's probably hard for people to understand. But it does when you're fighting for your contract every year, and it becomes difficult mentally to deal with that sort of the pressure, if you like. Even though
I can imagine,
you know what I mean. It can, because it's not. So that was difficult, definitely, for me. Yeah. When I did leave.
Yeah, and obviously your career, you played a couple of seasons in non-league, and Tony's got some questions around you moving into coaching, because that's where you are now, and I suppose that's where you see your future going.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. Well, it's an interesting point that you mentioned, Darren, because I wanted to sort of tie back into with John when he left Liverpool and how tough that was. Leaving, stop playing the game that obviously you grew up on, you loved. Was that more difficult than leaving Liverpool, or just as difficult?
No, I'd say the Liverpool thing was probably more difficult, because I'd say when I finished playing, the last 2 years, I sort of switched my mind off to that I was a pro footballer anymore. I knew it was coming, if you like, so I probably prepared better for that than when I left Liverpool. Even though, when you're 18, 19, you still, even though in the back of my mind, I probably knew I was never going to make it at Liverpool, there's still always that hope. But the fact that I probably knew I came out the league, and I remember the last game I played for Camberlades, and the manager took me off and he said to me, "What's the matter with you?" And I remember sitting at the ground. We played Bamber Bridge away, and again, this isn't to sound like I don't know. I just said, "This is what's the matter." There was about 20 people watching me, and I just thought, "You know what? I've had enough." And then I never played again. I didn't play another game even for non-league, just because I thought, the grind of it, if you like, it just became difficult. And I'd started doing my coaching badges, and I was a delivery driver for a year after I finished, but I used to love it. It was just something different, and I always thought it was going to be difficult for me when I did finish, because I thought, what am I going to do? But actually, I used to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and go out driving a van, and then I'd go and do some part-time coaching then in the night at Everton. So I was doing like 15, 16-hour days, which is something that when I was training 10 till 12 and then I was going home, it's something that I didn't think I'd ever do. But to answer your question, I probably adjusted better to finishing, just because I knew that it was coming, and I knew, I had a good go at it. But my time had come. My body had probably told me that as well.
And you went on to get your UEFA A license, and that's led into your coaching career now at Everton, and you're with the under-15s. You've been with them for a few years now, have you, John?
Yeah. So I've actually, in the past month, I've actually left the club. So it's something I can't speak about right now. But I've had 6 years there, and I've loved every minute of it. I went and done. So as I say, I was part-time, and then I went full-time in 2014. So I had 2 years with the under-9s. I had 2 years with the under-13s, and then 2 years with the under-15s. And it's been good, because the under-9 group that I took when they were 9, I then had them again when they were under-15s. So it's nice to see how the boys have sort of have progressed through, if you like, in a funny way. It's sort of like it's like being a manager of your team. That's probably the closest you get to being a manager of a pro team, if you like, because you've seen the youngster when he comes in the first team, if you like, and then 6 years later down the line, you see how they sort of progress. And but I've done my badges and yeah, it's been a really good 6 years there, and now I'm looking for a different challenge elsewhere. But it's something that I've loved doing. Yeah, definitely. It's something that. Sorry.
No, I was just saying. I mean, when you're coach at that level, like interest to me of under 15 is you're developing. Obviously, you're coaching their skills. But is there a change in system or how you approach your coaching when there's a change in management on the first team? Does that affect it that far down the ladder?
I'd say so. Everton's over the past sort of 10, 15 years, and even longer, Everton have had a good record of bringing players through. Obviously, Wayne Rooney's the biggest name that's come through. I'd say that more recent years. So basically, the academy sort of being left to run itself, because the people above the club have said, well, you know what, it's done well. We've bought Ross Barkley, Wayne Rooney, and probably the two biggest stars to name. But I'd say more and more nowadays, I think the person at the top of the club, when the manager comes in, I'd say, that it does affect what happens in the academy, because clubs, if you look at the big academies, Barcelona, Ajax, if you go and play in Ajax under 19, they play like the first team. And I think that's what every club strives for, if you like, to try and get sort of that like uniform all the way through, which is difficult. But I'd say the bigger clubs are better at doing that, just because, as I say, Barca, Ajax, to name the two, it's probably best, like sort of, they've produced the most players over the years, I think. And that, I'd say that probably has got something to do with it, in the fact that the boys know all the way through sort of how to get in our first team, you've got to do this.
Yeah, I'd say there's some good players have obviously come through the system and made it to the Everton first team. So, what do you do you foresee another job in coaching, or are you just going to take a break, or are you looking for a different challenge?
Yeah, no, I definitely want to stay in the game. You know, there's just been a change of manager. Sort of at the academy, and so, you know, I've moved on, and yeah, I will be looking to go back into the game, because as I say, it's something that I didn't envisage doing when I finished football. Going back to if you'd asked me who was going to be a coach, it'd be Peter Kavanagh, because just the way how he talked, and I never thought that would be me, but it's something that I've really enjoyed. So yeah, it's not something that I want to give up just because I've left Everton. It's something that I definitely want to stay in the game. Yeah.
Well, you've obviously put in the work with getting your badges, and I think that's obviously you've got a lot to offer, and hopefully some team will be. So maybe some managers or staffs out there going to listen to this podcast, and they'll pick you up. So hopefully things work out for you, John.
Yeah, I'll buy you the drink if that happens.
Oh, yeah, I'll set you up on that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, good stuff, John. Thanks for just wrapping up. I think thanks for joining us on the podcast tonight. It's been absolutely great to hear from you. Really honest insight into football, really, you know, and different levels, and working your way through it, and coaching, etc. So thanks very much.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks. Really enjoyed it. Thanks, Antel. Thanks, Calvin, Crocky, for the Jimmy for the questions.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, I appreciate it, John.
It's been good.
Yeah, it's been brilliant. Really enjoyed it. It's been we've flown through it because there's some really insightful answers, and I always enjoy the journey from a playing career into post career. So, and we've learned a lot today. So I appreciate that, and we wish you all the best in your future endeavors, John.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it. Enjoyed it.
Yeah, absolutely, John. We really appreciate you joining us on the show today, and I've enjoyed listening. And I just kind of get to sit back while Darren and Tony, ask these fantastic questions, and especially Darren is just second to none in terms of his knowledge of Accrington Stanley history, and the amount of research that Tony puts into these interviews is second to none. And I just have the easy part of doing the introduction and hitting record, but we do like to finish up with an on Stanley on. That's kind of a tradition that we do on the show here. So I'm going to count to 3, and 1, 2, 3. On Stanley on.
Cheers, John.
Cheers, John. Thank you
very much. See you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.